Monday opened up the beginning of a new legislative session, which was a day where lawmakers could officially file bills to be discussed during the upcoming session.
It really shows you what their priorities are and what they're choosing to focus on. So I just think it's kind of important to see how this is going to play out in the future based on this part right now.
Political science professor at Texas A&M says this legislative session is going to be a tough one.
As we move into this particular session, you have a change in leadership in the House, you have redistricting coming up, and you have budget deficits because of COVID and because of the impact on the economy. So this is a tough legislative session.
This bill filing window is an opportunity for lawmakers to address issues or concerns for the new session.
The reason we go through this is so that we can actually have policy that reflects the concerns and issues of the voters. And you hope that happens in the legislative sessions. But it is still a sort of difficult process to move legislation from simply filing a piece of legislation and actually getting it passed. And
this new legislative session will start in January, and some of the topics are expected to be related to the pandemic, state political maps, state budgets, as well as controversial topics such as abortions and marijuana.
If they're not meeting again for another 2 years, then they're going to have to consider trying to take on the pandemic now and then trying to bounce back from it later and then trying to rebuild everything after that. So I don't know if you can really expect that kind of foresight, just not even looking at it cynically. That's just a lot to expect from legislators.
Brazos Valley residents say Texans should be engaged with this new session because the general population is ultimately affected by what is decided now.
Because it's our lives that are affected by all of this. They're in charge of how we're going to live our lives for a while and how the economy is going to go.
Professor Goydell says over 500 bills are going to be possibly considered, with the end game to ultimately end up on Governor Abbott's desk. But he says most won't make it that far.
Most of those will die a quick death. They probably won't go very far. They might be sent to a committee where they won't move very quickly. But some of that legislation will actually become law. But it's typically a very small percentage of the total number of bills filed that actually becomes law.
In College Station, Hannah King, 25 News.
Hannah, thank you. Yesterday's huge filing session brought up some hot-button topics, so let's take a look at some notable ones on the agenda. Republican Valerie Swanson says HB 25 would stop officials from sending out unrequested mail-in ballots. State Rep. James Tallarico's HB 54 would prohibit law enforcement from working with reality TV shows. Woodlands Representative Steve Toth says HB 69 changes abortion limits to the first 12 weeks of pregnancy. State Senator Jose Menendez drew some fire this week from Republicans after expanding marijuana legality for Texans with Senate Bill 90. And a big platform for all you football fans, State Rep. Art Fierro's drawing a line in the sand to make the day after the Super Bowl an official Texas holiday.